singer Tyla, her famous song Water,
big tune,
has come out and said that she doesn't identify as black. What else was there? She refers to herself as coloured. So a bit of background: she's from South Africa, Johannesburg. Doesn't refer to herself as black, but refers to herself as coloured. And this is a term that is used in South Africa for those of mixed ethnicity. The term coloured has a different connotation in the United States.
As it does in the UK.
As it does in the UK as well, and many other places. A racist categorization used predominantly during the Jim Crow era to segregate people, which explains why some Western listeners have questioned its usage. And then I think Dan was saying that there was a decent discussion on another podcast where they were saying that it's, like the definition says, it's slightly different how people view and refer to themselves, usually of mixed heritage, around the world. And the reason why I brought up Squid Game Challenge was that the boy on the show was of a mixed race, but his mum, he was raised by his mum who was white
woman, yeah.
And he said that why would she had him when he was quite young, why would a white woman know how to raise a young black boy? And then the missus had a brief discussion and she was like, oh, he refers to himself as black. But he's not, he's mixed. But then I was like, I totally understand what you're saying.
We spoke about this at the end of the podcast.
That's what I'm saying, yeah. That some people, although you're mixed, society will refer to you as X because that's how they see you. And you even might refer to yourself, as he did, as one way when technically you're not.
Yeah, so I think there's maybe a few things to discuss here. Firstly, I guess being black Brits, how do we feel about the term coloured?
I think we're, like I said, we've grown up with it being a racist categorization.
I don't know if I think if someone refers to me as coloured, I don't automatically think that person's racist. Do you?
No, I just think, you've grown up in a time where that word was used.
I think it's an indication of age.
Yeah, big time.
And maybe location that you grew up in.
Possibly.
But I don't automatically think you're racist. I did at a point.
Yeah.
And I still have issue with the term.
Yeah.
When I was in Sri Lanka, actually, met loads of couples and stuff like that, but I met like this nice older white couple. Anyway, he was telling me about some story. He was on a plane, some bullshit. Anyway, he was like, and there was this coloured guy.
Must have been a good story.
It wasn't even a good story. It wasn't that good a story. Like, he was like, and there was this coloured guy, like, and he kind of like, he said that and kind of paused a little bit.
And he thought,
anyway, I was like, finish your story, big man.
Yeah.
I was like, one, it was a shit story. Terrible story. You shouldn't tell people that. But he used the word coloured, didn't it? And I was like,
was it addressed at the time or did
I didn't address it at the time. I don't know. I don't think I addressed it, but I think I gave him like a blie.
Yeah.
In that I know you don't, and I can tell by the way you don't mean it offensively.
Yeah. He's just.
But I think what I should have done, in hindsight, was told him, I know what you mean by that. Yeah. I know you don't mean any offense by it, but probably stop using that term.
Yeah.
Because there are connotations, and I could assume, but I've got better judgment, and I don't think you are indeed racist. But a lot of people can just based off the use of that word assume you're racist and just be Nella Rose you and I'm done with you. Like, block, delete. So I think I should have told him that. But in like from that moment, I was like, if it ever comes up, I will think that. So I personally, I don't like the term, but it's not nigger. It's not an N word to me. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people think they're of a particular generation think they are saying the nice thing as opposed to black, because black genuinely has negative connotations in the English language.
Yeah,
I think they're doing a thing, but
it's definitely a generational thing because like you said, I've heard older generation men and women say coloured, and you know the person means no offense.
But do you still get like it's a little ooh? Like I get you do like like when you might be scared and your heart drops.
Yeah.
But I get a little like ooh, like when I hear the words.
It's almost like you're listening. Then they say coloured, and it's like now you're just thinking,
like, all I can think about is that now.
Yeah.
I'm just zoned out, like, completely.
It gets a little bit like that, and it's to what you said. I'd prefer. I'm not offended by what you said or the term that you've used. It's just,
but I still don't want you to use it.
I'd prefer if you didn't.
And I don't want you to use it for your own good.
For your own good, right? So for me, it's if you speak to someone else might not be as understanding as I am. It's also an outdated term. I like to think that we progress with our vernacular and vocabulary. So let's not use words that are no longer used in wider society.
Yeah, when people say the things, I'm like, you need an iOS update. Like, hit update, my bro.
Yeah.
And then I guess secondly, it's do you have a problem with her using it to describe herself?
Who?
Tyla.
Oh, Tyla. No, because again, like the understanding the generational side of it or usage of it, I think she's grown up in South Africa, from my understanding, in a time where you had, I guess, the white people, then you had the black people, but then you also had
Coloured people.
Coloured who, I feel, from what I've read, created their own sort of community. So that's how she's grown up. So she almost knows one way of living, and it's not to conform to Western ways of living. She's just said, oh, I don't see myself that way because I've not been brought up that way. That's not my culture, essentially.
I think I don't have a problem with her using it. If you were brought up in the UK as a mixed race person and you're using that term, I'd be like, that's strange.
Yeah.
But given the context, it might as well, it's just the same as mixed race, really, isn't it? It's just that they use a different word for it. I think what this kind of story kind of highlights is that because Black America has like produced so much content and is the leading space, I think it's starting to change. I feel like Africa's getting more of a voice and visibility now. As with the UK, even Canada, all sorts of places, Black people from all parts of the world. But them being the dominant player and the word coloured having its own connotations there, I can see why it's seen as negative. But I think they need to just fall back a little bit and realise, like,
that's just the states being...
You don't really get to... You have, in a way, but you don't really get to decide what like kind of black culture is.
Yeah, but that's...
It's not...
Yeah, that's them.
I think they think they're the centre of the black universe.
This is it. And I think many other topics in the past, they feel like, oh, it's them, they have the first, mid, second and last say, and... They're
the main characters.
Yeah.
They are, though. They actually are.
They are. But I think when it's a thing that doesn't specifically pertain to the US, then I'm not a matter that they should feel like they can govern and be like, oh, she's not coloured, she's black. Well, to Tyla, she's not that. She's coloured, and there's nothing wrong with her feeling like she is, because that's how she's grown up. But then I think when you, like we were saying before, I think when you get into the realm of it like being mixed, then it's a question of, oh, what side do you, which side do you identify more with, and why? It's always, and to the question I asked you, man, last week, it's like what would be the feeling behind that? And obviously, Mandem are a bit more open-minded, so it's not a concern. But I feel like for some people, it might be some people might feel a certain way about that. Like the guy from Squid Game Challenge, referring to himself as black. How does that make his mum feel? Because she's not black.
So how could he be black?
So how could he be? But he's decided, oh, I'm X. Is that how he feels? Whatever that feeling might be, or is that a reflection of what society has told him he is? Because like Tyla, she says she's coloured. People have said, nah, you're black. They're not going to say you're white. I don't know if she's mixed.
She's mixed is coloured, isn't it?
Yeah,
So she,
yeah. So no one's saying, "Oh, she's white." People have gone immediately.
That's interesting.
You're black.
You can't be white. That's one thing.
And this is it.
You can't be white. That's the crazy.
But then you're made up of two sides.
Yeah.
So it's like the question is, does he feel like that's how he feels, or is it a reflection of what society have?
I think it's
told him or looked at him as, oh, you're not the other one, so you're definitely this.
I think it's a combination. I think it's like twofold. I think it's, if you're mixed race, I think a lot of people will identify with being black because that's how a lot of people are going to see you. It's like,
that's what I think.
You have to be cognizant of, regardless how you feel about you, how you are seen in this world.
Yeah.
It's like, it almost, do you know, it's kind of reminding me of Kevin Samuels.
Yeah.
Which is this probably seems like a weird comparison.
Let me land.
He's gonna get there. Yeah. Where he'll ask people like, oh, what are you out of 10?
Okay, yeah.
Because you might think you're an 8.
Yeah.
But the world says you're a 5.
Yeah.
And you need to know,
this is how you are perceived.
Yeah. And I think being perceived as black is something you need to know, even if you want it.
Fully, yeah. You
have to know that because particularly, and we were talking about it more in terms of like children and stuff, what we spoke about at the end of the last pod. But you can't, I think it's dangerous to raise a mixed race child, I think particularly a boy.
Yeah. Okay.
As anything other than black.
Really?
Because if we have to keep it like, we've got to be totally honest. Like, we know that, I mean, statistics support this stuff, but we know like black men get stopped more. We know how we can be perceived. We know we can be perceived as aggressive, as so many things.
Yeah.
You need to know those things when you're traversing through life, whether you are that or not.
Yeah.
Because that has implications for your life and for your freedom, and you might be under threat without realizing. I think one of the worst things you could do is raise a young perceived black male, let's say, as something else.
Yeah.
I think that's dangerous.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Yeah.
I've seen it. I almost called up some youths the other day. They was in Tesco or Sainsbury's, outside Sainsbury's. And it's a young white boy, teenagers. They might be like, I don't know, between 14 and like 16.
Yeah.
And they're ramping with each other. They're over by the ATM, like almost kind of spooking people a little bit, like they're gonna think.
Right.
And they're just ramping. Yeah. Anyway, I see them and I'm thinking I should really speak to this one white child, and the other like black or mixed race.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, it's all good, you're having fun and that, but you, my friend, are going to be seen. You can't get away with what he can get away with.
Yeah.
And if you don't know that, more fool you. Like, I'm doing you almost a disservice if I don't say nothing. Yeah. And I went to on my way out, but by that time, like, they got in trouble with like Tesco, Sainsbury's security. It was already, someone was already addressing the issue kind of thing. Yeah. But it's important to know these things, man.
Yeah, 100%. I agree, and I think it's important that you make them aware of that. Because you don't want to set them out in the world and they think it's a level playing field, or you've got the same, you're perceived the same as, I don't know, white Johnny, whereas you won't be.
Bro, you ain't.
The sad fact is that you won't be. And as much as not me personally, but as much as a parent, you might want to be like, oh, like you've got an equal footing in this and it's fair, and maybe to some extent it is, but
we have to,
for the most part, it may not be.
We have to accept the world as it is.
That's it.
Not how we'd like it to be.
Amen. Lyrical.
It's the reality, man, and it's sad, isn't it? Like, there's like loads of like quotes like, oh, what's it? Something like, be the change you want to see in your world and all that. And I agree with that, but you also have to be aware of what world we're living in and operate accordingly, man. Don't do nothing stupid now.